I've been sitting here watching this debate between Persianguyagain and J.P. Peralta about the Heditha incident that Marines went into homes and killed people. And talking about some horrific things that happened. And horrific things happen. It's war. And I've said that, I've stated that, and I will continue to state that it's not a good thing. And I think to focus on this incident or that incident or these combatants or those combatants, whose fault it is. It's the tremendous amount of horrific things happening to human beings. And primarily civilians. More civilians have died in Iraq than any combatant, U.S. or Iraqi or foreign fighter. But we have to look at this in a perspective that the United States of America, the most powerful country on the planet, and nobody has come out and said that's not true, that we're not the most militarily powerful country on the planet. And I've given my side as far as being a Marine in a different time, 1976, 1980, Jimmy Carter, we went nowhere, we didn't go to war, and I was happy about that. Doesn't make me less of a Marine. Doesn't make me feel that, my time in service was not important. It was important to me, it was a part of my life. And I've tried to sympathize or empathize with the Marines that are there. In 1979, the Ayatollah Khomeini took over, or I shouldn't say the Ayatollah did, he didn't. Students in Iran stormed the U.S. Embassy and took hostages. I was in the Marine Corps at that time. And I remember the feeling of having an adversary. I mean, I had on my desk, I was a desk jockey the last part of my time in the Marine Corps. I was a separations clerk. I discharged Marines from the Marine Corps. But I had on my desk, on the front of my desk, a picture of Mickey Mouse. And Mickey Mouse was holding up his middle finger right in front of his face. And right below it said, "Fuck Iran." And those were Xeroxed and sent all over the battalion, and everybody had one, and it was, one of those motivators, I guess. Here we have an adversary and we're going to have to maybe go to war. And so you get into that war mentality, that you have an enemy. And there's nothing more what your job is than to take out the enemy. I think 20 years later, 76, 30 years later, that war has changed. Perhaps. Our weapons are more sophisticated. Our methodology for laying waste to more people is more efficient. We have the technology to lessen our own casualties, increase the casualties on the other side, lessen our own. And the majority of those weapons were designed to battle large forces, the Chinese, the Soviet Union, primarily those two, and that the scenario would be that we have the classical battlefield mentality such as World War II. The problem we find today is that we're not in World War II, and we don't have these battlefields. We're in cities. We're in cities that are trying to operate as normally as possible, but yet underneath there's a battle in the entire place. When you have that, when you have urban warfare, the civilian casualties skyrocket. You know, that's what happened in the Iraq-Iran war. The civilian casualties were tremendous on both sides. Maybe more on the Iraq side. You know, the gassing that supposedly took place in the north, and forgive me, I don't remember the name of the city that it happened. It's just totally left my mind, and it's not in front of me. That gassing occurred because the Iraqi military believed that that town was being held by Iranian attackers. And so weapons of mass destruction, chemical weapons, were used against the town. Many civilians died. Many soldiers died as well. It was in war. It was a bad thing. You know, I just watched 2 videos, and I'll put links over here to the 2 videos, and some may see them as propaganda. The first one is called Iraq, the Hidden War, and the second one is called Fallujah, the Hidden Massacre. I didn't watch all of the second one. It was quite graphic, and you only need to watch so much to really understand what was going on. The first one I did watch all of it. It's 49 minutes long. It does show some graphic footage. The Fallujah one is very graphic. If you cannot stomach seeing dead people, and I don't mean just dead, people whose bodies have burned but their clothes have not, it's not a pretty thing to look at. War is not a pretty thing to look at. And especially when you have a military such as the United States military. They're very effective in what they do. We have, you know, fine-tuned the art of killing. And you have to stop and think about that. Why? Why have we fine-tuned the art of killing? We know now that if we go into an urban situation, it doesn't work. Laying down weapons that will effectively have a killing radius of so many yards doesn't work. Because there's something else that's present 30 years after when we were going to attack Iran, or, you know, 40 years after Vietnam. And that is this. Mass media. Not the networks, but the internet. You know, the people who are doing the most on the front lines in Iraq are bloggers and video bloggers who are Iraqi. The problem with that, and if you watch this film, The Hidden War, it outlines this very clearly, is that we're only getting one side. We don't get both sides. And in a war, that's difficult to make a judgment, an independent judgment about what's going on. You can argue till you're blue in the face. Persian guy and Mr. Peralta. You can argue till you're blue in the face. You can call each other names. But the problem is, all the facts aren't there. You know, it's like, you know, you can see me on camera right here, but can you tell me what I had for dinner tonight? Can you tell me what the temperature is outside right now? No. Because there's information you don't have. So I think the reason my take on this is that we need to solve the problem of war. We need to solve the problem of why people are killing one another, instead of getting into the details of how and what happens during that time. War is ugly. People who are in that situation do not think the same way that you and I do. The thought process is totally different. Fear creates mayhem. Fear creates carnage. Fear creates dead people. And dead is dead. Doesn't matter what their body looks like. Doesn't matter how they were killed. Doesn't matter what they went through before they were killed. Dead is dead. And people are dying. No, I don't believe, and Persian guy said this, that the Americans have killed 650,000 people. I don't believe that. I believe that perhaps 650,000 people are dead, but not all by the Americans. You know, there's three sides in Iraq. The Sunni, the Shiite, and the Americans. There's three sides. You know, and death is happening on all three sides. So, I guess my point is, you know, let's not focus on the little details. Focus on those who are responsible. And we all know who that is. And it's not just George Bush. Even though George Bush has a heavy, heavy weight on his shoulders because of this. Very heavy. Donald Rumsfeld, very heavy. Dick Cheney, very heavy. But so does Saddam Hussein, very heavy. Al-Zakari, very heavy. Bin Laden, very heavy. There's a lot of players here at the top. And that's the focus. That's what we need to speak out against. So anyway, I'm going to have to play some music. Take care.